It is the 28th of May and there have been 5 global test punches so far in the Nintendo ARMS game, and I feel like it's a good time for us to sit down and talk about the different control schemes of the game and what are good and bad with them, and maybe perhaps what could be improved with them, and also to let you guys in the community decide what you think is best and perhaps get some new insights on how other people play as well. So during the global test punch I was able to try out 4 out of the 5 controllers. The first one being motion control JoyCons, which are when you're playing with your hands and you know, freestyle. The Joy-Con grip, when you have it inside of the grip controller, which looks like this. And then also the tiny Joy-Cons when you know, slide them out and have them like this, kind of tiny. And lastly the docked Joy-Cons when you put them outside of on your Switch. Unfortunately I wasn't able to try out the Pro controller yet, but it's one of my plans and hopefully I can talk more about it then and what is good and bad. Starting out with the motion control Joy-Cons, there were a lot of things that I was surprised of that I liked. I didn't think I would like this setup at all, so I was really surprised of how much I thought it felt good. But at the same time I felt like, because I've heard a lot of people say that they really like the motion control Joy-Cons, and I feel like a lot of people have been leaving out the bad parts about it. I don't know if it's just been because it's been promotional videos, but there are bad things about it too. But starting off with the good things is that it feels really good to actually curve your punches. So the Joy-Cons are actually really good at telling your angle and like actually feeling your, you know, how you're angling the hand basically. So curving a punch just feels great because you basically have perfect control of your arms in the game. So if you're standing behind a pillar and you want to like throw a punch around it, it's a really good feeling. I was also using the arm with the dragon a lot, so you know, it shoots out the dragon and then the dragon shoots a laser. And usually I hit with the laser most of the times, which felt super good. It also put you a lot more into the game, so it made it a bit more immersive when you're just like, you know, sitting there and throwing your arms, and it's perfectly doing it into the game as well. So that got me really hyped, and when I'm hyped I play better, so I like that. The bad things about this control setup is that it's really hard to spam a lot of commands. So in a lot of fighting games you want to kind of spam commands of movement or, you know, tricking your opponent of what you're supposed to do next, and I felt like it was really difficult to do that when you were using the motion controllers, because if you want to, for example, you know, dash left and right, you have to like do this all of the time, and after a while that can become very tiresome, and it's really hard to kind of sync your hands because they have to be synced when you're doing this. If you're doing it like a bit weirdly, they would kind of like do some commands sometimes which just feels weird, or you would like guard because you put them together to use guard. So it was really hard for me to just kind of have the sense that I have the control of the character at times with the movement. The punches are great, but the movement is just kind of wacky. And the same thing goes for the guarding. Actually, like using the guard sometimes felt really slow, or kind of there was like a delay, so sometimes I wouldn't be perfectly synced and move like a millisecond instead of just guarding immediately, which made me get punched, and it was kind of frustrating, you know. Another thing that I didn't like with the motion controllers was that it was really hard for you to actually kind of move forward, because when you're throwing the punches in the game, you're, you know, flicking the hands forward, but you're also, when you're moving forward, you need to steer your hands forward. So sometimes, you know, you wanted to go right and then forward, and then you would throw a punch instead of just going forward. So a lot of the times I felt like the only ways of movement that I have was sideways and backwards, which could feel really weird. Like if you're in a corner and you want to move out of it, you have to like sidestep away from it instead of kind of like moving towards or over an opponent basically. So that was something that I also haven't seen, I don't think I've seen mentioned as well in the forums and stuff like that. I also accidentally took a lot of screenshots. So you know, this black button here is the screenshot button, and when I'm playing and you know I'm being really into the game, I accidentally pressed this button like, I don't know, 20 times or something. So it was kind of, you know, annoying to fill up your library. I don't know if they have like a way to disable this button or something, but it felt really weird. Moving on to the Joy-Con grip, which is basically the one that I've been most comfortable with and playing the most with. I felt that there was a lot of familiarity with other fighting games of, you know, just holding a controller like you did when you grew up with fighting games like Tekken or Street Fighter. The good things about having the grip is that you feel way more in control when you're actually moving around with the character. You can, you know, spam your commands, you can dash and jump and dash, jump, dash, and then just move around a lot, which feels great. Also, since it does take a lot of less hype, you know, you're not sitting there and waving your arms, it feels like you could do a lot longer sessions with just having a controller, which for me, who wants to play this game a lot, is kind of, you know, it's important. The bad things about the Joy-Con grip is that there are a few things, and one of them, I don't know if it's just me and it's hot in Sweden right now, but the kind of black parts of the controller get really kind of sticky fast if you have hand sweat. So, you know, after one game it's like already there and it's kind of annoying. I don't know if I have to get like a rubber grip for them or something. I actually did get a rubber grip for the you know, joysticks, but you know, opposite to the motion control Joy-Cons where it's like it feels perfect to throw a punch, it's actually felt a bit more weird for me to throw the punch, because when you're throwing the punch with the Joy-Con grip, you're actually doing it with the same stick as when you're moving around, so the left stick basically. So if you're moving in a direction and you want to throw a punch in the other direction, you have to like time and, you know, walk and then flick the other direction and then keep walking. And it's kind of like, a lot of the times I would just throw a punch in the direction I'm walking, which is kind of predictable, or I would have to stop and do a punch, which is really bad because you don't want to do that. Another thing is that the changing the target is like super odd for me. The default controllers that are, you know, placed on the screen and setup says that you're supposed to use your directional buttons, which is underneath the actual movement. So when you're moving and you want to change like if you're in a 3-player free-for-all and you want to move and switch the enemy basically, or the target, you have to move and then click the thing, and you can't really click with your thumb, so you have to basically stop moving and click it, which kind of sucks basically, because you're just standing still for I don't know how long, 0.3 seconds or something, which sometimes actually led to me, you know, being hit because I'm just standing still and not doing a lot. I did see on Reddit now that there are alternative buttons for them that aren't actually mentioned in the actual game, which is kind of odd as well. I thought, you know, you think that they would kind of write them out, but you never know with Nintendo, I guess. So usually you have the A and B button to throw your punches, but someone on Reddit wrote that you can actually use the trigger buttons, or I guess the shoulder buttons. I haven't used this, but that sounds great, and hopefully I'll be able to use that the next time. The person also stated that the right controller stick that I thought wasn't used for anything actually is also used to change opponent or change target when you're playing, when you have several targets. For me, I think the perfect way to have the Joy-Con grip would have to be to have the punches on the actual triggers, and then, you know, dash and jump on the shoulder pads, having the rush on one of these like X, Y, A, B buttons, and then actually curving your punches with the right stick, because then you can also move around and curve your punches. I don't know why they didn't think of that, but and if you agree, like, do let me know in the comments, but I think that would be the actual like best setup overall. But you know, let me know. Now the third setup was just the regular JoyCons, when you know, slide the JoyCons out like this, and we also used the added part, the gray thing that makes the controller a bit bigger, so it's like this basically. The good things about it is it's just like you can just bring over your friend and play it 2-player online, which is just like, that in itself is really good, because these motherfuckers are really expensive. Other than that, like it's the control setup is really simple, you know. It kind of feels like an old school game, or even like a stick setup, where you just have like, you have your 4 buttons here and you have the stick, and then you do rush on both the trigger or shoulder buttons there. The only thing that is kind of like really weird with this setup is that the switching targets thing is on the usual trigger button. So if you have your you know, have your controller like this, and you know, you're moving around and you're fighting, and then you have the rush here, and then you have like the switching target here, so it like looks really weird, because then when you're holding it like this, you have to like press with the this part of your hand to actually switch targets, which felt really weird. And it was even more weird with the red one, because as you know, the controllers have a bit like asymmetry, and for me, I played with the red one when my friend was here. I had to like, you know, stop doing what I was doing and like actually press with my thumb to actually switch targets, which was really terrible actually. I hope that you can remap the buttons, because in that case you could just like, because now both of the trigger buttons on the top is the rush, but you don't need both of them, so why don't they just like switch one of them to switch targets? I think that would be a good way to fix that issue. Otherwise it felt pretty okay, except that I don't have baby hands, so it's you know, good for you, but I don't, so it's, you know, they're tiny as shit. Now the last control setup that I tried, and basically the one setup that I tried the least, was the docked setup, when you put the Joy-Cons on the Switch and then you bring the Switch with you. It's, for someone who has played fighting games a lot, you know, growing up, it feels super odd to actually have the console in your hand when you're playing fighting games. I remember I played Tekken on PS Vita, which was, you know, really great and all, but in this case it feels really scary, because you're basically carrying like something really expensive in your hands, and you're playing something that makes you kind of super hyped and filled with adrenaline, and to me that just makes me kind of nervous and takes me out of the game. So for me it was just kind of like a no-no. I can't really play with this when I know that like I'm holding a thing that could break really easily. Basically it was that, and that it felt kind of clunky, because I know a lot of people are used to like sticks and stuff, but having an actual like carrying a screen and playing a kind of really intense fighting game, just it's super clunky, and I wouldn't recommend it, because I mean, if someone does use it as their main kind of option, dude, let me know, because I kind of want to see how you play when you do play it. But for me that was just kind of the worst one. So that's it for my opinions of the control schemes. I haven't been able to play with the Pro controller yet, and I'm thinking that it shouldn't be far away from the grip, but once I do get a hold of a controller, I'll let you guys know and what I think about it. But do let me know. I'm kind of wondering, what is your favorite control setup, and what did you like about it, and what didn't you like about it? So, you know, leave a comment down below and let me know. And if you want to see the next Global Test Punches, you can check out my Twitch channel and follow me on Twitter to, you know, get the dank memes. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.